Welcome to PopNerdery, the show that is nerdier than having a shrine in your closet for your favorite dead Robin. This is a place where you're allowed to have an opinion on anything in pop culture, but you got to have more than just a little bit to say. Well, we're going to pick out some of the headlines that have us talking this week. We're going to spit out some hot takes. We're going to dive deep this week on our favorite holiday media. If this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. I'm your not host, Dave. We're missing Brent this week, so it feels a little bit like, Dad went on vacation and the kids are here to play. With me tonight is your favorite rapper's favorite blogger, Mr. Topher Howden.
Hey, Dave. And since Dad is away, I'm not wearing pants, I'm eating Cheetos, and I'm wiping my hands all over the carpet, and he can just deal with it.
Well, I have all of the clear liquor out, so that way, and I've marked
the line.
Yeah,
so
I marked the line. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. We're going to get so inappropriately drunk tonight. This is going to be awesome.
It's going to be great.
We've got a little housekeeping to take care of. You can follow us on the Twitters at PopNerdery, PopNerdery. We comment on things as they happen there, inappropriately hashtag things, subtweet those of us around us, and solicit things from brands who have no interest in sponsoring our show.
Please sponsor us.
Bud Light. We drink enough of you. Or Miller Lite. I don't care. I'm easy.
Or PBR.
Fine. Basically anything with booze in it. Please sponsor us. You got 3 ways to listen to the show. The first is the old trusty iTunes. Jump to the podcast section, open up that search box, type in PopNerdery.
That seems easy, Topher.
It does seem easy. You know what's even easier? Rating, reviewing, and subscribing. And then grabbing other people's devices and subscribing them. And also giving us favorable ratings on their devices. So simple.
Don't even ask their permission.
Please don't. The second way to listen to the show is at popnerdery.com. We archive all the episodes there. We've got a hot new take section. Hot take. New.
Hottest.
I just want to say hot and new some more. Hot takes for new hot take section. Hot new takes.
That's at popnerdery.com/talkback.
And you want to get in there, hot takes. Atomic takes even sometimes. Mm-hmm. The third way is to list all of the X-Men's ex-wives on the back of your divorce papers, mail them to Dale Foltz. He'll come and podcast directly over your shoulder while you work. It's magical. Trust me.
Don't test me. I'll do it. All right. Like I said before, we are going to dive deep into favorite holiday media a little bit later. We're also going to do our recommendations at the end of the show. But first, we're going to talk about the news that has us talking this week. So first, a little bit fun. If you're going to a holiday party and you don't want to really spend a lot of time talking to your friends and or family.
Why would you?
It gets real awkward after the first few minutes, I think. I love all of my family members, but I know that all of you out there in PopNerdery land, it's a little bit difficult to go back and talk to, humans who don't have the same level of, nerd gusto that we have here on the show. So if you'd rather stand and stare at a Yule log, we have a couple here for you that should really help let your nerd flag fly. The first one is just 5 hours of Darth Vader's death pyre from Return of the Jedi. It's just Vader's burning visage with crackling Sith sound effects. That honestly sounds like it's a toy that George Lucas should have sold back in 1984.
I can't believe he didn't.
Honestly, I really think that DVD or Laserdisc, no, that's even too early for that.
Oh, yeah.
Would have sold very well, is all I'm saying. And if that one is a little bit too morose for you, there's also, you can go on YouTube and find a 45-minute long U-Log video that just features Nick Offerman drinking whiskey. It's just him sitting next to his fireplace drinking whiskey for 45 straight minutes.
I made it about 10 minutes into this one day while I was working. And after a while, I started to feel vaguely uncomfortable. And then it just felt like I wasn't enough man to sit with him for that long. It was like 10 minutes was all my masculinity could stand, being in close proximity to the supernova of manliness that is Nick Offerman. So, take that one carefully, I would say. You might come out feeling a little more hollow and less manly than you did when you started that.
Yeah, and you know what? There are some people who got sick of the ultra-manly Ron Swanson memes that were out there. Similarly to the ultra-manly Chuck Norris memes that were out there. They got old after a little while. But the thing about Nick Offerman is he's that guy. Like, he is really that guy.
That manly.
He's from Minooka, Illinois.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Minooka. He runs a wood shop.
Uh-huh.
He is pretty much the entire reason why I know about Lagavulin Scotch.
100%.
So
he sharpens his own tools.
Oh yeah, for sure. So those are the two Yule logs that we can recommend. They are we don't get any kickbacks from these Yule logs in any way. Yeah, we're gonna try to find a way to monetize that here at PopNerdery.com. But if you, like I said, if you really just you want to ignore your family members and just stare into a crackling fireplace, why not try a burning Vader or one that's accompanied by a wonderful, handsome Nick Offerman.
Or better yet, if you're trying to get rid of people who are in your house, throw one of those on and see how long everyone can last.
And say nothing. Just throw it on as if it were normal.
Yeah, sure. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to put the game on. Nope, just kidding. It's Darth Vader burning for 5 hours.
All right. We're going to move on from Yule logs to, and there's no segue for this. There's no way for me to properly segue from Yule logs into real news. But into the MCU we go. Kurt Russell. There's a rumor out there that James Gunn wants Kurt Russell to play Chris Pratt's dad in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And
Bang.
I am totally on board for this.
My pants just swelled.
We've talked about how you have not yet seen Ant-Man, but Ant-Man featured old man Michael Douglas, and he was great. I was way down for that.
Sure.
I really think what they should do in these movies is just give every superhero a dad and make him a sweet actor from the 1980s.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Can I get Doc Brown to be someone's dad? I don't know.
Yes, you can. I don't think he's working much right now. So, yeah.
Can I get Bruce Willis from Die Hard? Just that one specific guy? Can I get John McClane?
Like, if I could get John McClane, I'm in.
Can I get John McClane to be Hawkeye's dad? That sounds right.
Only if you would be really disappointed in him all the time. Like, this is what you are? This is the superhero you turned into? Jesus.
I walked on glass for you.
Uh-huh. I was the greatest one-man army on Christmas Eve. And you are a bow and arrow shooting guy.
Yeah. By the way, spoilers for our conversation later. I brought up Die Hard way too early.
I know.
This rumor could be total BS. We have no idea if it's real, if it's not real, but it's really the only thing that I want in the world right now. After hearing it, I really want to see Jack Burton from Big Trouble in Little China.
God, yes.
As Chris Pratt's dad.
Yes.
Like I want him to do the voice. Like that's all I want right now.
Or Snake. He could also play as Snake in Escape from New York, and I would be fine with that too.
Absolutely. And I think the thing that we have heard about Star-Lord's dad is that there's some mystery to it, right? It might not match the comics origin, right? Star-Lord's dad is Jason of Spartax, and I don't think they haven't mentioned anybody from Spartax in the MCU yet, so they have no reason necessarily to go that direction. There have been some rumors that maybe Thanos is Chris Pratt's dad. I don't see how that makes sense or why it would be beneficial to the story.
Well, because then it would mean that he got sexy time with his sister, with the daughter of Thanos, and that's not. Yeah, cool.
I think Gamora is an adopted daughter of Thanos, but
I don't care. That's still just a little too close.
Yeah, and I don't think Marvel would even. They're not even going to get within 50 feet of even half incest.
No, not on one of their primary characters.
No, not going to do that. Especially one who's so he doesn't need that conflict in his life.
No, he's been stabbed by a lot of other women. He's not interested in making out with his sister.
He's got 2 cool cassette tape mixtapes.
Right.
That's all I care about. That's as deep as I want that character to be.
Yeah, he flies around the universe with a raccoon, a tree, and a blue guy. Like, yep, good.
Great.
Done.
Down. All right. So moving on from there, from one blue guy to another, the X-Men Apocalypse trailer dropped this week. And luckily for us, Apocalypse did look decidedly more blue in this trailer. In the first pictures that they released, he looked a little bit like Ivan Ooze from the live-action Power Rangers movie, as everyone on Twitter pointed out. But he was decidedly more blue in the trailer. after the trailer was released, Oscar Isaac, who plays Apocalypse and who is on this Star Wars, what essentially is like a victory lap at this point.
No kidding.
Everybody's out doing press for Star Wars, even though they've already sold 100 million in pre-sales. But he's out on this Star Wars press tour, and he was quoted as saying about his character Apocalypse, he's definitely not going to be everyone's favorite version of Apocalypse, but he's my favorite version of Apocalypse. And I don't know what that means. I don't know if it's good or if it's bad, but I think Oscar Isaac is right. I think I might not like this version of Apocalypse.
Boy, I think you're really right, Oscar. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to like this version of Apocalypse, in fact. And the fact that you're talking about it after one trailer has come out is concerning to me.
Yeah. I think the most important parts of the story, or like of the origin of that character, like he was the first mutant. Yep. He was considered a god in Egypt. He was laid dormant for a while and then came back and was, very, very powerful. I think they're getting that stuff right from the trailer.
Yeah.
But the look and feel of them doesn't look and feel great.
No. And it's, I think it's interesting. They took a little heat after that trailer came out from Hindus about the comparison to, I think it's Lord Ganesh is mentioned, and they were none too happy about a contemporary religion figure being pulled into a comic book thing. And I get that. I think that to me, it's just like they keep making not necessarily bad decisions, but interesting decisions, ones that I don't necessarily know I agree with. And I'm very curious to see if this either adds up to something that's very unexpected and I go, hey guys, you pulled it off, that was good. Or if it's just like, nope, you just kept every time you get a chance to make a good decision or a bad decision, you made a bad decision.
Yeah. And I don't think we'll know until we see the movie, whether or not they turn out to be good or bad. I did think it was interesting that they chose to use the word Yahweh instead of the word, Jesus.
Yeah, I think that was their hope, that maybe they wouldn't piss off all those other people too.
Exactly. They're like, well, this segment of people is okay to piss them off, but this segment gets real pissed off, and they want to, exile entire groups of people from their country.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on. I did think that the trailer itself was fairly good. I'll always be a guy who was kind of burned by the not reboot that was X-Men First Class. I really wanted a true reboot of that universe. Because when they started X-Men, it was back in the day when we had to put people in black leather because studios didn't think that people would be able to handle, costumes and origin and, things like that.
Yep.
But when First Class came out, we were firmly in the world of the MCU. They could have gone back and redone this universe.
Done it right.
Quote unquote. Yeah, right. Or correctly. So I'll always feel a little bit burned about that. Now I feel like, I'm missing out on the trilogy that could have been, had they started, even if they had kept Wolverine around and included Wolverine, but if they had started First Class with, Cyclops and Jean, Beast and Angel and Iceman. But given what we have in that universe, I feel pretty good about what the trailer looked like. They did go back to putting people into like weird black body armor.
Yeah.
Like Cyclops and Jean Grey have no costumes. They're just in that same kind of like armor that Wolverine wore in Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
But I mean, aside from that, the story of it all kind of looks good. They're going to do the Four Horsemen. You're going to see X-Men that you haven't seen before, which is great. Like you're going to get to see like a legitimate Archangel. Like you didn't see that in the, in X3. You're going to get to see Storm, a non-Halle Berry version of Storm, which is great.
And we're going to see a bad Storm, which is exciting.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's exciting. I think you're going to get, you'll get a young Nightcrawler.
Fine.
You'll get, who am I missing?
I mean, I think those are the ones that really stuck out to me that I was interested in. Some of the stuff is still just, I don't understand, like, why do we have no Colossus? Why do we have no, the big thing that annoys me more so than like, and I understand that X-Men world is huge. There are a ton of characters that we can say, why haven't we seen whoever? But I'm tired of incompetent Professor X And I'm hoping that this is the movie that stops him from being, and I get it, like he's learning, he's getting his feet underneath him, learning the ropes, everything else. But at some point, like, and it could just be that this actor portrays it very effectively. And as such, it annoys me, but I'm ready to see competent leader Professor X and not befuddled gadfly Professor X.
He did look pretty damn competent at the very end of the trailer when he was bald and in his suit in his wheelchair.
That's my hope, is that when the hair goes, the incompetence goes.
Yeah, that's all that was holding him back was that hippie hair.
It's that goddamn hippie hair. Professor X, some goddamn hippie, shave that fucking head. Let's go.
I mean, so what they've done here is they've gone 60s in First Class.
Yep.
They went 70s in Days of Future Past, 70s in Future.
Yeah.
Now, this movie the present day stuff is going to take place in the 1980s. What I'm really hoping is that the next movie will finally allow them to do proper X-Men like 1992 animated series.
The yellow costume.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You have, I don't think they'll be able to get Hugh Jackman, but you have the floating yellow wheelchair for Professor X.
Yes.
You have, pastel purple and blue for Gambit.
Oh, let's just have some Gambit. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah, you and Brent are really on the Gambit train. You guys love the damn Gambit.
Team Gambit.
Yeah. He was never my mon ami, right? That's a Gambit thing. But yes, X-Men 92 should be the blueprint. And I don't know if I'm just like the one guy that was really attached to that, but
no, that cartoon was incredible.
Okay. And
that was an everyday watch for me.
Yeah. I really wanted to see like Night of the Sentinels, the VHS that they sold at Pizza Hut when I was a kid.
With the yellow stripe on the end. I want to see Omega Red come back. I want to see that era X.
I want to see Mr. Sinister.
Fuck yes.
I want to see competent leader Cyclops.
That would be nice too. Not whiny bitch Cyclops.
Yeah. Or like actual, Phoenix Saga. But now they have, Ned Stark's daughter as Jean Grey. And I like her on Game of Thrones, but I don't I don't know what she would be like with without the British accent that she has on Game of Thrones.
It was really a weird disconnect when she was talking in the trailer for me.
Yeah.
I was just like, no, stop it, Sansa. You're doing it wrong.
I mean, I'll give the whole thing the benefit of the doubt because despite, not having the characters I wanted it to have, I did really like First Class and Days of Future Past. I thought they were both pretty damn good movies.
I watched the rest of them. It's not like I'm not going to watch this one.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Speaking of trailers, the Star Trek Beyond trailer dropped this week. It is, along with X-Men and along with Captain America Civil War and a couple others, going to screen in front of The Force Awakens this week. This trailer was a little weird for me. I wasn't really expecting it, especially after the last one was so dark. The I'm Not Khan movie that the last one was. This one, and maybe I should have expected it because the guy who directed the last couple of Fast and Furiouses directed this is Justin Lin. But there was a lot of Beastie Boys.
Yes.
There was a lot of Bones making funnies, which I'm always down for.
On board with that.
Bones is my favorite character in this new Star Trek trilogy.
Fair.
They were stranded on a planet. They were out on the final frontier. That's cool. But one thing I thought was interesting and that I wouldn't have done if it were me was they made Idris Elba 100% unrecognizable.
Yeah. Yeah, when you have a talent like that, it's not always the best idea to hide him in a way that makes him completely unrecognizable.
Yeah, and you're going to get his voice, right, which is great.
Sure.
Idris Elba voice, fantastic.
Yeah.
And you're going to get his physicality, but like a lot of what makes him effective as an actor is like his emotion in his face.
Yes.
Honestly, what makes any actor great is what they do with their face. And he's going to be obscured under like an inch and a half of makeup.
Yeah, and it was a very strange thing for me that like a lot of the problems with Star Trek are that they will try very hard to make interesting, weird aliens.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're very like throwaway, so you don't have to deal with them much. I remember one from Deep Space Nine that actually had like a vertical pillar of like skin that went from his nose to his chin that like obscured the front part of his mouth. And every time he talked, all I could do was just look at that one pillar in front of his face. And I couldn't ever figure out, like, I just lost the plot entirely because I'd be like, I wonder how that's stuck on there. Like, is it attached to his nose? Like, it doesn't move. There's no torsion. Is he just not moving? Like, and it completely removed the thing.
And what evolutionary purpose would that?
So, to their credit, I was like, what must his world be like? Like, that was fucked up. I mean, imagine what the function of that would be. But so the first time I saw Idris Elba, and then honestly, I was watching the trailer, and then I went to the internet to see what nerds thought, as is my wont to do. And they were like, and you can't even tell who Idris Elba is. And I was like, was he even in that trailer? And then went back and watched it again. I was like, oh, sure enough, that was him.
I did the exact same thing.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
I thought that I had read at some point that he was going to be in it, and it made me really excited because I thought for sure he was going to be a Klingon, right?
Yeah.
I thought because Klingon, to me, is the most iconic race outside of, the multiple races that make up the Starfleet.
They've gotten the most billing for the longest time.
Right. And I'm a Next Generation guy. So like Klingons were always the antagonist.
Yep.
So I thought for sure he was going to be a Klingon, which means some face makeup, but you still see mostly,
right.
You still see
they got like the eyes down
face
to act with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I had
the ridges on his head and the whole thing. It just completely obscures any recognizability.
Yeah, I did the same thing where I went back and I was like, where the fuck is he? And the only reason I knew is because the article I was reading described Idris Elba as the character that tosses Kirk into a wall. And I was like, oh, that guy.
Oh, him. Okay.
Yeah. So that was interesting to me.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that I like about it. I'm bought in on this iteration of the franchise. So again, just like with Apocalypse, whether I like this trailer or not, I'm probably buying a ticket one way or the other. But it kind of less so than X-Men. This also made some choices where it was like Bones funny, stranded, kind of the central tenets you expect from a Star Trek role there. But then they have made weird decisions like hiding Idris Elba. So
it was very Guardians of the Galaxy-esque to me.
The Beastie Boys gave it that feel.
Yeah, which I'm totally fine with because I loved that movie. And honestly, I'd like more tentpole blockbusters that are fun as opposed to like
super dark all the time. Yeah, and that's why Star Trek has always had a lot of levity to it. That's definitely a part of that franchise. So
I've always been a Wars versus Trek guy. Like I've been Wars over Trek guy, I should say. But honestly, if they could just grab James McAvoy from the X-Men trilogy, and make him bald forever, and make him Picard in the new Star Trek, I'm here forever.
I buy that.
Yeah,
I'm in.
Who would be your Riker in that world? Your number one.
Idris Elba.
Yeah, I mean, we can
Idris Elba is my answer to a lot of those questions, though. So
I really, after watching Luther, Idris Elba is my answer to almost every who could do it.
Yeah, basically since The Wire. Yeah, and he's just continued to prove me right after that.
Yeah, honestly, I would recast Superman at this point and make him Idris Elba.
I would probably like Superman a lot more if you had made Idris Elba Superman.
All right. Speaking of Superman, I did not do that just for the segue, but it turns out nice. And I'm going to call out.
We believe that.
I'm going to call out all of my segues.
Okay.
Hot Toys, makers of very insanely detailed and also equally expensive toys, released pictures of all of their Batman vs Superman offerings this week, and they, as expected, look gorgeous. Both Batman and Superman look fantastic. The costumes look fantastic. I've never bought a Hot Toys toy, but I do geek out over the pictures of them.
Yes,
on the internet. But the real scene stealer was the 1/6 size, 1/6 scale Batmobile.
Lord, yes.
It looks so good. And I mean, if you get a chance to look at this thing, look at the pictures of the interior, because that's really what does it. I'm half surprised they didn't put in tiny LED screens and program like little things to flash across the screen, because it's like it is almost that detailed.
Yeah, I'm surprised it doesn't work and drive around and help solve crimes, because everything else is there. I have a really weird relationship with the Hot Toy stuff. Thankfully, they really got popular after I was married, and so I had someone who could veto my purchase of all of these things.
Oh yes,
which I want to make very clear. is a good thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. No one should be buying hot toys unless you have an obscene amount of disposable income.
Yeah. Like had I had a quote unquote real job and no checks and balances to that checking account, I would own a lot of hot toy stuff right now.
Oh yeah. It would be obscene how much nonsense I would have.
Oh yeah. And would very quickly blow through, I don't know, like a fifth of my salary yearly on a few things. So I'm kind of with you. I lust over the announcement of these things, and I want to see them, and I want to drool over them, and then I invariably go check a price and go, okay, well, that was fun. We're good here. That was neat.
And I occasionally will be irresponsible and buy like a Lego set, but that's about as far as it goes for like shit that will have to be displayed in front of actual other people.
Right.
However, speaking of obscenely expensive toys that I will have in my life, our good friend and super fan Carl the Destroyer let slip what his Christmas present would be to me this year, and he told me, he goes, I spent way too much money on you, and it is a nonsense present. You will not be able to use it in any measurable way.
Which are my two qualifications for a present for me. It should be really expensive, and it should be completely useless.
Yes. So he showed me to a website called Saber Forge. And for those of you that haven't been there, please go check it out. They make insanely detailed, like aluminum carved replicas of, or as they say, heavily influenced by the movies lightsabers.
Please don't sue us.
Yeah, they have no licensing relationship to George Lucas, but he found one that was heavily influenced by Luke's Return of the Jedi lightsaber, and it makes noises. It has a rechargeable battery inside the hilt. It has like a 32-inch long blade that is powered by a 12-watt LED, which is like more powerful than you could buy on the market in any place. It's like an industrial strength LED. And there was a video online of a guy who bought one of these things doing a durability test on the blade, and it literally is just him mashing it into a tree trunk. And he's like, it has a couple of scuffs, but no cracks, no bends. So now I think that I have to either find a person that I can, assault with this thing, or Carl the Destroyer might end up having to get his own next Christmas. Because I'm gonna need somebody to fake duel with this damn thing.
I can't just have the only one of these incredibly expensive prop lightsabers. Like, I need someone else to have one too. Because otherwise, why?
Yeah, and honestly, we do a weekly podcast about nerd stuff, so we really can't throw stones when we're in glass houses. But
oh God, no.
There's a guy who does these review videos of these things. His name is Shamim, and he is my favorite person on the internet right now. Just insanely detailed reviews of these Saber Forge lightsabers. And he gets the joy in his eyes when he like lights it up for the first time on the video it's one of my favorite things on the internet right now.
Yeah. I just wish I wasn't so dead inside so I could enjoy something like that. Like in the same way he does. Exactly.
And he's like, this is the first time that on screen we saw a green lightsaber. Ooh, so good. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Yes, this guy's my new favorite guy on the internet.
Get after it.
I love it.
So let's move on from obscenely expensive gifts that I received. Just so you know, everybody, I'm going to give an equally nice gift in return. I'm not an asshole. But
well, you're like, not because of that specifically.
Yeah, but I mean, it was. I've been thinking about this thing since he told me it was going to happen, and the only reason he told me is because it's not going to happen until way after Christmas because they're way super backed up. But
that's weird.
But yeah, they're crazy backed up. There might be like a Star Wars thing that's happening, at some point this week or next. I might have heard something about that.
I don't know.
Moving on, we got a couple of stories left. Netflix is changing their entire library. They're going to re-encode their entire library in order to try and boost video quality and also cut down on bandwidth at the same time. I don't know how they're going to do that. That seems like a fantastic goal.
Yeah.
Because there are some times on a Friday night where it's a little bit difficult to get through, my favorite episode of Daredevil or whatnot.
Everybody's at home rocking out some Netflix and chill. It's not just you.
Exactly. The most interesting stat from that news story that I saw was that Netflix currently accounts for about a third of all internet data in North America at certain peak times.
That's just mind blowing.
It is. It is absolutely mind-boggling to me, especially right now with the online shopping season in full swing. The fact that there are still times of the week where they make up a third, and that wasn't online streaming services; it was just Netflix. Yeah,
just pure traffic from there on the internet.
Yeah, and it makes sense. So it makes sense that Netflix has the money to double their original programming in the next year.
If anybody does, I mean, maybe Amazon, and then them. I think this is a great news, wonderful. I also think it's funny that no one really intended streaming to kind of take off like this, which is why everyone just put up high quality H.264 uncompressed HD video. Yeah. And went, no, we'll just stream this and then it'll be fine because, this is going to be a small site. We're going to keep mailing discs out, but, a couple people can watch some stuff online and then, cut to now when basically, I think there are 8 people left in the world still receiving discs and the rest of us are just trying to stream all this and they're going, well, shit, we're basically destroying cell phone networks right now. So we need to figure out a way to, not be doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. The last thing that we have here is, I don't know if you've looked at a Target catalog or a Walmart catalog. I'm not even talking about Sky Mall or Brookstone, but, someone's going to get a drone in your family this Christmas. Hopefully, as Topher happily points to his own face, hopefully it's one of us. And hopefully you know how to fly this thing so it doesn't hit me in the face.
I care less about that unless you get the drone, and then I care more about that.
But starting on December 21st, the FAA wants you to register your drone. And it's not just, for commercial-sized drones, for drones that shoot missiles, for drones that could take your eye out. Mm-hmm. It's for any drone that weighs more than a half a pound and weighs less than 55 pounds. My question is, what if it weighs more than 55 pounds?
Then I assume that you need a license for it.
I would guess so.
That's my assumption is that, knowing working in content and knowing a couple of video shops pretty well, those guys have, and were some of the first on the home built octocopter, the first time I'd really seen super impressive drones. And some of them have got, they started as smaller, size of a pizza box. And pretty rapidly, they suddenly were the size of my coffee table. And I was like, I've flown to Cleveland in planes smaller than this. Do you need some kind of license to operate this or anything? They're like, no, I just taught myself. And it's great. I'm going to go stand inside while you're running this thing here.
Exactly.
But good luck. Get some great footage.
I'm going to go stand behind some Gorilla Glass. You go ahead and fly that thing.
I'm going to stand behind Gorilla Grodd, and he's going to rip your arms off. So best of luck.
So you can register your drone online. When you have to register your drone. And if they said that if you get it all taken care of before January 20th of next year, the FAA is going to waive their $5 registration fee.
Well, that's nice of them.
They're nice. They're nice guys over at the FAA. Nice guys and gals.
Merry Christmas from the FAA. Yeah. In all seriousness, if you do get a drone this Christmas, it's not something that you just fly around your living room and antagonize your dogs with, or cats with, or siblings, significant others, neighbors, mailman, whatever. Sincerely, don't be a dick flying it. Don't be the people who are interrupting, EMS crews and helicopters attempting to fight fires because you're filming it with your, Inspire quadcopter. Yeah. Don't be an asshole. In all things in life, don't be a dick. However, specifically, flying these things are a bunch of fun. We love them. They're nerdy as all get out, and they shoot incredible video. Don't fuck it up for the rest of us by being an asshole with these things.
Exactly. And if you need it, Wired.com has a pretty comprehensive list of drone by manufacturer and whether or not it requires you to give the FAA a heads up. And the article was also pretty snarky about the FAA has effectively been able to make us register drones while the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms has not made similar efforts in other different areas, and that's where we'll leave.
That, my sister lived out of state for approximately 6 years before she, switched her Indiana driver's license while operating motor vehicles in other states, unnamed states that I'm no snitch. Let's make that clear. But
yes. Snitches get stitches.
Correct. And
with that, we're going to go ahead and take our first break.
Welcome back to the PopNerdery podcast. Here in the B segment, we usually take the time to cuddle up to a topic, slide under the sheets, and snuggle up and see where the night takes us, deep into the nether regions of a topic.
Ooh.
Uh-huh. However, this week, with it being basically the week before Christmas, we're going to give the topic the night off. We're not going to beat anything to death. We're not going to kick any dead horses. We're not going to other metaphors for exhausting things.
Yeah, we're going to stay platonic with this topic.
Precisely.
We're definitely not going to push our luck
tonight
with this topic.
Exactly. Instead, what we're going to do is talk about our favorite holiday media. We're going to chit-chat a little bit about some of our favorite Christmas movies, our holiday movies. We're going to talk a little bit about holiday music that we both despise and love. And we might even find a way to make this a little bit nerdy. I feel like we've got the best chance of making this topic nerdy of maybe anyone else out there. So I believe in us, Dave.
Here we go. My first, I'm just going to get it out of the way now because we talked about it. I mentioned it earlier. I really think that the best Christmas movie, the one you should be watching with your loved ones around this time of year, is Die Hard.
I mean, it's obviously one of the better Christmas movies made. And when you watch it as a family, it allows your kids to have the opportunity to find out, some of the answers to life that are really important, like what is diplomatic immunity?
And what does frontal female nudity look like within the first 15 minutes of a movie?
Just right out of the gate. Like, Dad, how does this set the tone?
Just right there.
Our patriarchal society's representation of women in media.
Exactly. Just totally unnecessary to the plot or story in any way.
Precisely. And, that's what you want to be talking about the holiday season. So, yes, I think we all agree that, it's like a Charlie Brown Christmas movie. That Christmas special is obviously probably number one. I think Die Hard is number two. It's a Wonderful Life is number three. Like we can all agree on these things. Like those are the top three holiday movies.
Ho, ho, ho. Now I got a gun.
Precisely. How in what other movie are you going to get that kind of heartwarming dialogue?
Absolutely. And in what other Christmas movie are you going to get Reginald VelJohnson?
I would imagine virtually none.
Virtually none. Because Reginald VelJohnson in virtually no other movies.
It's a pretty limited slate of things you got him in. So, I think there's a good chance he probably didn't do any other holiday pictures.
You know what? Reginald VelJohnson is cursing at us from the other end of his earbuds right now.
He's like, motherfucker, I have done so many things.
He is our third listener on this podcast, and He is pissed.
Well, he was. He's not anymore. He gone. He gone.
I'm sorry.
He's not coming back.
I'm very sorry, Reginald. Did I do that?
We think this was your seminal work.
So that's my first one. We'll get that out of the way. Is Die Hard.
Right.
You mentioned the Charlie Brown Christmas special.
Yep.
The Charlie Brown Christmas special is always good. I do like having to explain to my younger cousins, my nephew, why Charlie Brown needed psychiatric help for a nickel.
Lord almighty.
But also explain to him that I don't know what fantasy land he lives in, but the way that our healthcare system works,
there ain't no healthcare for a nickel anywhere.
No, none whatsoever. So I will say that the older I get, the less Charlie Brown, hits me for any specific reason. It's more like the feel of it and the music.
And I think it's funny. I think I'm the inverse with you. Before it was this is just, I like this because this is on every Christmas.
Yeah.
Now, specifically some of that stuff, they fed the kids their sentences 3 words at a time.
Yeah.
Because the kids were so young that they couldn't do it. So you get, especially Sally's dialogue.
Yes.
All the sentences don't go together in the tone of the voice is not in the same, and they try to speed it up to make it, and that delights me for some reason. The psychiatric help for a nickel, the fact that Linus reads a Bible verse on airwave television, which now would be, for good, bad, or indifferent, a thing. Oh my God, would that be a thing now if that happened? And
that would be It would be the thing that launched 1,000 think pieces.
Oh God, there would be so many hashtags,
Yeah.
many hashtags, and just the fact that like literally Charlie Brown is the physical embodiment of seasonal depression, general anxiety disorder, and like probably also just crippling depression.
Good grief.
And like these kids just keep beating the shit out of him.
Just stealing his football.
I'm fucking taking it away. Your tree is stupid. You're a fucking failure. Like these kids are not afraid to tell him that he's specifically like a failure to his
Giving him
face.
bunk psychiatric advice.
And charging him for it too. And it's like, you're not even certified. Get the fuck out of here.
She loves the idea of cold hard cash.
Mm-hmm.
I have watched. Yeah.
There's a lot that delights me, and probably no more other scene than when Lucy is leaning on the piano and Schroeder is playing, and he busts out like some Beethoven. He does like some organ chorus music, and then finally he's like, "Fine, bitch, plunk, 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 plunk." It's hysterical to me.
Yeah.
And I will say that as a huge jazz nerd, I do own that soundtrack on the original vinyl pressing from CBS.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. I mean, that music to me speaks holiday more than probably any other thing.
Yeah, I think for me it's more the music than the plot of the thing.
It's so good.
But yeah, absolutely. Another one where the music catches you and a staple from our childhoods was the 1960s animated Chuck Jones animated How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Absolutely.
It's
Boris
fantastic.
Karloff in the voice.
Yes.
So good.
It's that one is, if I had to spend 1/2 hour of my holiday doing anything other than eating, probably it would be watching that special.
I would be drinking bourbon, but then after that would be watching the special.
That the other night I drank some nice 15-year-old Irish whiskey while watching it.
Delicious. That's probably the best of all things.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
And I will also accept no adaptations or substitutions of that original one.
No.
Get your Jim Carrey thing and get the fuck out.
No, it's just so unnecessary. That one it's a perfect piece of it's just a perfect piece of entertainment.
Yeah.
It didn't try to go bigger than it was. It was exactly what it was, and they got probably the best animator in the history of animation.
When it's got that fantastic limited animation style with the beautiful matte painting, set painting, and then the movement floats on top of it. But instead of obviously they got more time, but like when you watch some of like the Hanna-Barbera stuff that does the similar, you can see like if they're going to open a drawer, it like glows and kind of vibrates.
Yeah.
There's none of that.
It reminds you of every good, Daffy Duck or Bugs Bunny or Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner.
That Looney Tunes,
yeah,
kind of slapstick. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that I believe that is probably the pinnacle of holiday-based cartoon entertainment.
Yeah, where do you come down on the claymation Rudolph and Frosty?
This was what you're talking about with Charlie Brown in terms of like the only enjoyment I get is because I know this is a Christmas thing, Capitals a Christmas thing.
Yes.
I remember those being on CBS or ABC. I'm not sure who had them eventually, but like that, all of those Rankin Bass stop animation is just like, that used to be a big, exciting deal. I went back and watched one probably like 2 or 3 years ago, and I had the same like excitement, like, oh, awesome. I remember this. And then probably like 10 minutes in, I was like, this is fucking unwatchable.
They're difficult to get through as an adult.
They're really bad. Yeah. But that said, I am excited to show them to my kid.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to re-experience them in the same way that he does, right? Like we only trot this thing out in this 1 month and we get excited about it and it's a thing.
Yeah. And I think it might be a little bit different for your kids because they will be able to stream it at any time of the year.
That's
whereas true. For us, it was this thing will never be on TV other than.
Oh, and you knew for weeks when it was going to be on at what time, and if you missed it, then
it was over. Your chance was done.
There were years I didn't see How the Grinch Stole Christmas because my parents were driving me somewhere to something I didn't want to go to when I could have just been at home watching the Grinch. Yeah,
my parents were fantastic, and they taped all of those specials onto a VHS tape.
Yeah,
But what they did, in order to preserve the magic, they packed it away with all of the ornaments and the lights and all of that. So it got packed in a box and up in the attic, so I had no access to it.
Right.
But,
I'm I'm going to horrify you. When I was a kid and that was actually magical and amazing, home VHS wasn't a thing yet.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Yeah. It became one very quickly in my childhood, but in reality, taping things off of television was not a feasible thing in my early childhood.
Yeah. My favorite part about doing stuff like that, and especially the Christmas one, was the advertising was in like full blown effect. Around that time of year. So we probably taped this off the VCR in like 1991.
Yeah.
And the ads, the Christmas ads during the winter of 1991 were outstanding.
So magical. Well, and the funny thing is that it was years later that it, like all of those kind of became like a sacred event, right? Where they're like presented, like Chevy is going to present it without commercial interruption and is going to do a 5-minute block on either side. But like we won't interrupt. We won't. Oh yeah, Bob Seger was all over that shit. But like we won't interrupt the actual show, right? Because that would be, oh my god, the idea of it. But when it was actually presented, it was just like, I imagine when that actually aired, there were probably television commercials for cigarettes in between some of those segments. Like it was presented by Chesterfields, the brand that doctors smoke.
Well, you had a couple of. Like the Hershey's Kisses bells, like that commercial still plays.
Oh yes.
But that was one of the commercials that was in there.
Revolutionary at the time.
I'm pretty sure that the first beer commercial I remember was played during Rudolph on my VHS tape.
Now, if it was the Budweiser Clydesdales, that I can, there's some leeway there for that. That's at least holiday themed.
Yeah, I think it was like a Red Dog 30. Oh, like crack into a Red Dog this holiday season.
Forget about your stupid fucking kids. Crack into a Red Dog.
Yeah. So there is that. Rankin Bass. I'm exactly the same. Where it's nostalgia over. Yeah, it's tough to watch, but I will feel happy to share it with my kids one day.
Yeah.
And it is cool to see. I don't know why it still works with kids because they get Pixar movies. Yeah. But it does. It does.
Well, and I have a 2-year-old. I showed him Charlie Brown, and the animation is pretty meh. Like, this is the kid who watches the new version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles where they don't say cowabunga anymore, and the whole thing is fucking bullshit, and I just don't have the heart to tell him yet. But it's got, like, hot shit CGI animation and whatever the fuck, and I put him in front of Charlie Brown thinking, like, oh, man, this is going to last, like, 30 seconds. He's going to be like, Dad, why are you old and dumb? And instead... he sat there mesmerized and watched the whole thing. So I was like, okay, so there's something in this that's transcendent.
Yeah, I think so. There's also, so now there are the staples of our adulthood, which are It's a Wonderful Life and A Christmas Story. So on back-to-back channels, they play 24 hours a day, or at least the way my cable provider works. They're on back-to-back channels.
Yeah.
You have either It's a Wonderful Life or A Christmas Story. And I feel like there are some families that are It's a Wonderful Life families where they just have that on in the background.
Yep.
And there are some families that are Christmas Story family.
Yeah, I come from a white Christmas family. We didn't do either. I need It's a Wonderful Life like once every other year.
Yeah.
And in the I'm going to alternate years between Miracle on 34th Street, the original black and white version, mind you.
Yeah.
And then It's a Wonderful Life, but like only one in a season.
Yeah, it's tough. And I think neither of those movies, It's a Wonderful Life or Miracle on 34th Street or a Christmas Story, the ones that get played ad nauseum on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day when you're at parties or whatever, it's very difficult for me to engage with them in any way other than like super casual. Like I could walk near the TV and say, "You'll shoot your eye out," and then walk away.
Yeah, I have no real love for A Christmas Story. I mean, I like it. Yeah. I like it well enough, but
I do like the novelty lamp.
Sure. For a G-Lay. I guess. Like, I think like the jokes that we have ingrained into this season, I enjoy because it's like a pop culture thing that a lot of people can share in, and that's fun. But in terms of like the actual movie, that's like a once every 5 or 6 year watch for me. Yeah.
So for movies that are for adults around the holidays are fewer and farther between. And this may be, quote unquote, termed or deemed a ladies movie or a movie that guys typically don't have as one of their top 5, top 10 Christmas movies. But I love Love Actually. I'm really into that movie when I watch it. Yeah, I know you're about to get me.
No, I don't. I mean, you stripped all of my gears.
Yeah, I know.
I don't even know how to handle that.
So there are a lot of, if you think about it, there are a lot of genre parts to Love Actually, right? There are multiple different timelines.
Sure.
It's interweaving. It doesn't jump back and forth like a Tarantino movie would.
Right.
But all the characters are kind of coming at it from a different direction, kind of like a Rashomon type of feel.
I mean, I like Liam Neeson. I like Alan Rickman. I like Keira Knightley.
Right.
They're all things I like here.
It is a very as I've gotten older and especially as I've courted and gotten engaged and gotten married to my wife, like it has been a movie that we watch around the holidays. So I guess I have nostalgia for it there. But I don't know. It is one of my favorite holiday movies, and I'll just put it on because I think it's very well made and intelligently done. Well,
and this is it. This is funny. So in the early days of recommendations, I had a recommendation from a friend of mine for Quentin Tarantino and Richard Rodriguez did. I'm trying to remember the name of the movie itself, and I'm doing an awful job of trying to Google and cover my own ass. But a very similar film.
From Dusk Till Dawn?
No, it's
that's not.
4 Rooms was what
Okay.
Google finally fucking told me it was. And so it has a very similar kind of back and forth piecemeal story.
Yeah.
Where it's almost like vignettes that kind of have an underlying thing, but not necessarily. It's similar to a Love Actually, I guess, in so much as the format is kind of similar. So I got this movie from Netflix when you still had a disc mailed to you at your house.
Yeah.
And then on the queue online, it was like, if you liked 4 Rooms, you might like Love Actually. And I was like, I'm really into this, and yeah, totally, sign me up. And I got it, and I was like, this is nothing like a Rodriguez Tarantino movie, or Rodriguez for that matter. So I didn't give it a very fair chance because I think it was also July. It was not the Christmas season.
Yeah,
I had just watched a Tarantino Rodriguez movie that was very strange and very much in both of their paths. And then I get hit with this Love Actually thing, and I was like, yeah, that didn't work. So that's gonna be a little bit of homework for me here. It
is a weird Christmas movie in as much as there is frontal female nudity. There is Martin Freeman's ass is in this movie.
Okay.
There's infidelity and sexual misconduct by the President of the United States. Like all of these things happen, and yet this is a heartwarming Christmas movie. Because it also has...
You sold me on it a lot harder than I thought you were going to.
It also has a widower stepfather who has a very particular set of skills and has to teach his stepson how to
a huge dong.
And he just has to teach his stepson how to court his love at first sight when he's 11. That's a cute ass story.
This is weird, and I'm all right. Yeah. I'm going to take you the recommendation on Love Actually. I'm ending this in my notes.
Watch it with your wife after your kid falls asleep. And you're welcome. You're welcome for that one.
So you were discussing that there weren't a lot of adult movies, Christmas adult movies. And I don't mean that capital A, capital M.
Because plenty of those exist.
There's tons of Christmas porn. But what I'm talking about is probably my favorite Christmas movie, which is Scrooged, starring Bill Murray.
Oh, yes.
In terms of when we're talking about I don't want any other Grinch remakes, I want the original and nothing else. A Christmas Carol has actually a couple of really good adaptations. There's a lot of breadth on the spectrum, and Scrooged is probably my favorite.
Yeah, and I think the thing that Scrooged did, it's a very difficult thing for me to say, just like PopNerdery.
I've been practicing the whole time you were talking about Love Actually. I was just saying Scrooged.
The one thing that movie did for me is it ruined me for actually seeing a regular adaptation of a Christmas Carol. The Jim Carrey CGI version was kind of good. But the first time I saw it, it was bad, but it was bad in a it tells the story kind of way.
It was novel, I guess.
Yeah. And I got invited this year to a live stage version of A Christmas Carol, and I'm not I'm not like I hate stage plays or I hate musicals kind of guy. Like I can get down on that from time to time.
Sure.
But after Scrooged, what's the point? Like, why would I need to see a different version of that story, especially one that doesn't have Bill Murray?
No, that's true. However, I will say, so I love Scrooged, and it's probably my favorite. There is a George C. Scott adaptation of A Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Who, if you can get Patton to do A Christmas Carol, I feel really good about that. And in fact, it is fantastic. But just, to prove that I'm completely also an immature fuck, my third favorite is the Muppet version of A Christmas Carol, because A Muppet Christmas Carol is fucking fantastic.
I'll take that.
That's an every year watch for me. And it's actually, especially now that I have a kid, that's a Christmas Eve, after the Christmas Eve festivities wind down, watch a little Muppet Christmas Carol and head to bed for Christmas.
Yeah.
That's the move.
Well, all I could do while you were talking about Muppet Christmas Carol, it's been a long time since I've seen that George C. Scott version, and all I could do was imagine Patton berating a small crippled child.
It comes through a couple of times where I'd seen Patton before I'd seen this version, and it was actually my dad who turned me onto it, because I'd go on and on about how much I love Patton at length, to the point where, I've actually read the Patton Papers, which is like a 1,500 page volume. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, no, it's not. I'm not healthy. It's okay. But so, and he was like, well, then you should watch the George C. Scott version of A Christmas Carol. And I was like, no, old man, I will put you in a home right now. Don't you dare say that I should watch the Patton version of A Christmas Carol. Like,
Dad,
no.
Why are you old and dumb?
Just like, how fucking dare you? Patton doesn't do Christmas.
Yeah.
Just no. Patton does fucking mythical ass kicking. He's like, all right, dumb shit. Go ahead. And sure enough, I sat down and watched it, and I was like, okay, well, this is probably my second favorite version. Scrooge is still first, but boy, if you want to watch a quote-unquote traditional version of it, you can't do much worse than that.
Yeah.
The flip side of that is I watched the Henry Winkler version.
Ooh, the Fonz, hey!
And boy, is that in it. Now, it is old Henry Winkler, who we've all kind of known, kind of more recently. And it's like
Sandler
it's Waterboy Henry Winkler that you're getting in this. So, not as good.
That's not for me.
I don't think it's for anyone, quite frankly. I'm going to be honest. So, I'm going to go out and say, if you're looking for a new adaptation, you haven't seen Scrooged, do yourself a favor. It's crass. It's funny. It's heartwarming at times. It's vile at other times. And it's probably my favorite telling of the story.
Okay. So would you say that Scrooged is your favorite piece of Christmas media, or you still have one that you're holding back? Because I have one more.
I have one I'm holding back. Well, there's one that we've both skipped over that I think we need to acknowledge, which is Christmas Vacation.
Okay.
Like that. I mean, is
that your favorite?
No, but it's probably my wife's favorite, and I had not seen it. I did not see it when it was a contemporary film.
Right.
She brought it to me way later, and I know Chevy Chase from things, and I'd known about National Lampoons as a separate entity that weren't the movies. And she was just like, well, this might be my favorite Christmas movie. And I was just like, I can't believe I'm dating you. And then sure enough, I now have a t-shirt that says Griswold Family at Christmas with the family truckster and the huge tree on the silhouette on the front of it. It's so quotable. In my office, every year in my office, I won't let people start to decorate the office until after Thanksgiving, because I love Thanksgiving. So after that, then everybody can go nuts. And my coworkers, who found this adorable, that I was curmudgeonly and old, made me a large Christmas banner that says, "Hallelujah, holy shit, where's the Tylenol?" that I happily hang behind my desk every Christmas season. It's the only Christmas decoration that goes up in my office.
Oh, man. I really do. There are multiple times during each podcast where I wish I worked in your office.
we have a lot of fun.
Hallelujah, holy shit,
where's the Tylenol? It also has made me consider on more than one occasion buying the 00 Griswold Blackhawks jersey.
There you go.
Which I feel like Chicago is missing a huge opportunity by not having that as one of the alt jerseys that you could always buy.
Or one of the alt jerseys that they wear at this New Year's Day classic.
Oh my God. Yes.
Just everybody wears Griswold jerseys.
Yeah. And it's like the 87 version of the hawk head and the stripes on the, every time I see it, I remark to my wife, I'd really like to have a Griswold Blackhawks jersey. And she casually looks over me and smiles and goes, "Those are $180. No." And I go, all right, you're
for a
probably
joke.
right. Like
Yeah.
for a joke. Now, to be fair, I'd wear it all hockey season.
I know. I also think that the Blackhawks are missing a huge opportunity by not marketing Wayne Campbell Blackhawks jerseys, but that's a different point.
I would wear a Campbell jersey as well. So one way or the other.
So I'm going to go ahead and say it because I don't know if we're circling around the same favorite Christmas movie of all time.
I'm very curious.
But I'm going to go ahead and say it first, just in case we're on the same picture here.
Yep.
Mine is Home Alone.
You are nowhere near mine.
All right, good. Because Home Alone is my favorite Christmas movie of all time.
It's a really good Christmas movie.
It is endlessly watchable. The music is great. There is not a child on the planet, I don't care how old Home Alone gets, there's not a child on the planet that will not laugh or enjoy watching a child beat up two grown men.
I saw this in the theaters with my grandmother and my cousins.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember actively laughing so hard that I, like, as a child, actually really had to contain pissing myself. Not like I laughed so hard I pissed myself, but like as a child, like actually really having to be like, I might piss myself. And both of my cousins are now incredibly successful, wonderful women. And my grandmother was a public school teacher and a goddamn saint. And all three of them turned and looked at me like I had grown like a second head out of my neck on how hard I was laughing at Home Alone.
It's such a good movie.
I just truly almost pissed myself laughing at it in the theater.
And also crazy quotable. It's one of those, look what you did, you little jerk.
You little jerk. You're what the French call les incompetents.
The wet bandits. Yeah.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
We could do this all night.
Exactly.
That is bar none.
Polka, polka, polka. No?
No? Just
John Candy truly. I watched this like 2 weeks ago, and John Candy might really be my favorite. Like, the slapstick is still funny, but like I know it's coming, so it doesn't hit the same way. But John Candy, like, we were really big. Outside of Sheboygan. Polka, polka, polka.
I love that movie so much that when The Equalizer, the Denzel Washington movie, when that movie came out, I described it as Home Alone inside of a Home Depot. Like, that's how I described it because I love that movie so much. And honestly, I just want to see adult Home Aloneing people.
Yeah. Oh, I almost threw a rod on that one. Yep. Yeah.
So where were you going with this one?
So my favorite Christmas movie of all time is Batman Returns. It's absolutely a Christmas movie.
I would argue not even a good Batman movie, let alone a good Christmas movie.
Fuck off.
I know that one probably hit you like right in the money zone of like you are, I don't know, probably in the same way that I hold like a soft spot for Batman Forever.
Yes.
You hold us because we're that many years apart, I think.
I saw Batman Forever in the theaters the opening weekend. I remember all the tie-ins, and truly, like, Danny DeVito's Penguin is still my favorite villain. Of maybe like Heath Ledger's Joker comes close.
Yeah, I would argue that you're wrong, but nostalgia-wise, you're right. Like, I get it. I understand why that would be a cool thing for you.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I watched this movie probably last week, and I'm still telling you, Danny DeVito's Penguin is my favorite Batman villain.
Like, legitimately, you think he did a good job?
Oh yeah, he's fucking terrifying. He's
the
right
amount of
saying
he's not terrifying.
It's like the right amount of charming, and it's the same thing with the Ledger, right? Ledger's Joker is really good because he's super calm until he fucking snaps and he's crazy. Yeah. And DeVito's Penguin has that same thing where it's just like in the scene with the staffer where he bites his fucking nose. And he's like laughing and charming, and then he fucking turns around and snarls and bites the dude's face.
Yeah.
Like,
I can't believe they sold Happy Meal toys of that guy.
I know. This is what, like, you didn't see Ledger's Joker doing that shit. Like, he was genuinely frightening. I think.
Well, Ledger's Joker put a pencil into a guy's eye, but they didn't sell a Ledger's Joker Happy Meal toy.
Correct. I think that Pfeiffer's Catwoman is really good. She's the right amount of, like, half deranged and crazy. And when they're, like, actually, when Bruce Wayne and her in like the Wayne Manor drawing room.
Yeah.
I don't know what fancy rooms are called. So the room with the really big fireplace where they both leave to go do the same thing, and Alfred is playing telephone between them. Like, she's relatively stable and she just gets progressively more crazy. I mean, what's not to like about Batman Returns? I think the other thing that I really love about it, and it surprises me that you don't, I can understand why Brent won't or doesn't as much as I do. And I'll let him defend himself on the next podcast. But you and I were both dedicated comic nerds. And it has that 1940s aesthetic.
Yeah.
That's also modern. I think that's probably why I also really love it, because it has this 45 meets 87, 92, whatever it was, aesthetic that's all rolled in together. And I absolutely love that from a art direction standpoint.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that
91 aesthetic to it.
I mean, whatever it is, like, yes, the scenes with the transforming Batmobile after they put the transmitter on it show a little bit of age. But for the most part, like, and I will say probably the second worst Batman scene of all time with him scratching the CD. Like, we all agree about that.
Yeah.
That is bad.
So my confession, and one of the reasons why I probably don't like this one the same way you like this one, is I didn't see it when it came out. I saw it after I saw Batman and Robin. So I was already pretty jaded.
Okay.
Right. So the first Batman movie I ever saw was Batman 89, and I watched it 100 times and I loved it.
Sure.
Then I did not ever see, Batman Returns.
You just skipped Returns entirely?
Yeah, just skipped it. Didn't ever see it. And not because, of any, like, I didn't choose to. Sure. It just never is a thing that hit my, like, my dad didn't buy it on VHS, so I never saw it.
Okay.
I was too young to see it in the theater, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The first movie I saw in the theater was, it was like a re-release of Pinocchio, but then the first run movie I saw was, The Lion King, which is like 94.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. That was the first movie I saw in the theater. So I was too young to see Batman Returns in the theater. So I did go with my dad to see Batman Forever in the theater. And I loved Batman Forever. I ate that shit up.
Yeah.
And then you see Batman and Robin, you start to see the cracks. Then you go back and watch Batman Returns, and I didn't like it. And then that was at the point where I was like getting real deep into comics. And I was mostly a Marvel guy at that time, but that wasn't for me. But I do agree with you. Cool Christmas movie. If that's a movie that you like, I'm down for that as a Christmas movie.
I mean, that is the one that I think that I don't watch that over the summer. I wait until at least fall to start watching that.
Yeah. I would argue maybe the only superhero movie that takes place at Christmas.
Yeah, I usually try to stay away from that, and this one was more than happy to. The other thing I will say that it's actually increased my enjoyment of it was the reintroduction of Catwoman, who played it differently but still followed the same narrative as the Pfeiffer Catwoman, and that actually made me go back and watch the original, and I think that both of them are good. I like them well, but I think I like the Pfeiffer Catwoman even better because it's kind of the first time we saw someone who flirted back and forth between villain and superhero.
Yeah.
And I think she actually does it really well for having absolutely no film template to go on.
Yeah. Well, there's also no real predecessor to that. There's no real, even in TV, there's no real predecessor of like, we need you to be like kind of weird and obsessed with cats.
Yes.
But we also need you to be sexy. And we also need you to be like fun. Uh-huh. And we also need you to be villainous.
And
do
scary.
All of those things.
Like actively scary.
Yeah, exactly.
Psychologically unhinged, dangerous, attractive, and a little bizarre.
Yeah, and the leather catsuit has
maybe that's all it was as a young budding human being.
Yeah.
That Michelle Pfeiffer in the catsuit is really what I really love, but
yeah, potentially. So, outside of movies for Christmas, is there anything that you want to shout out real quick? Because we spent a whole shitload of time on movies here today.
Yeah, I think that we there are a couple things. Obviously, we discussed a little bit the Vince Guaraldi soundtrack to the Charlie Brown Christmas special.
Absolutely.
It's definitely one of my favorites. Like I said, I own multiple copies of that on vinyl, which should tell you both how much a nerd I am and also how much I love that soundtrack. But then Sufjan Stevens is a very indie artist whose career I followed with great enjoyment, who has put out a lot of very strange albums. He's not afraid to do a bunch of different stylistic things, including Songs for Christmas, which has it's like if you like indie folk or indie rock, you will like this album.
Okay.
But like titles like "Come on, let's boogie to the elf dance," "Get behind me, Santa," as opposed to Satan. Like, "Hey guys, it's Christmas time." That was the worst Christmas ever. Like, I mean, it's all over the place. It's very fun. He does some original stuff. He covers some other things, and like it's a great album to just throw on in the background when I'm working, or like when we were trimming the tree. We put this one on. I find a lot of modern Christmas music to be repugnant.
Yeah, most of it's pretty
terrible. It's all pretty awful. And like, so was the stuff in the 80s. Like, I don't need Celine Dion or Whitney Houston singing Christmas songs either. So, to be fair, it's not a recent thing.
Yeah. I've been a mostly Bing Crosby guy for my whole life.
You can't ever go wrong with Bing Crosby.
Yeah, I mean, go to the classics and just stay there, live there. But you went indie. I'm going to go like the most mainstream possible. Just go get the Michael Bublé Christmas album. Just go get that.
I'm going to disagree with you. I'm good with like 15 minutes of Bublé, and then I can't.
I'm totally down for that. Like when the Bublé song comes on after the like 10 minutes of nonsense that they play on in Chicago, it's 93.9 is our Christmas station. When you have to hear Wham sing that Christmas song that they have, and you have to hear when you go through that nonsense, and then Bublé just comes on and just goes 100% classy.
That's true.
There's no shtick to it at all. It's just, I'm gonna sing the shit out of this Christmas song.
Yeah,
I can respect that. I'm always down for that. It reminds me of Bing Crosby, and that's something to like.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, if you give me Wham on repeat versus Bublé on repeat, I will happily take Bublé. But I wonder if instead of Bublé, I'd rather have Bing, Dean, Frank. Like, give me the old school classics. And in reality, I'm actually far more likely to be playing the Bootsy Collins "Christmas Is Forever" album.
Forever?
With "In Yo City," "Merry Christmas, Baby," "Happy Holidays," featuring Snoop Dogg, "Chestnuts," "Winter Funky Land," "Santa's Coming," "Boot Off," "This Christmas," and "Christmas Is Forever." Like, I honestly love this album. I'm not even joking. Like, this isn't a shtick. I'm not making a veiled insulting thing. I own the Bootsy Collins Christmas album, and I really fucking like it.
And you're happy to put it on every year.
Oh God, yeah. No, that is absolutely a work album. Like, if I'm doing, I'm working, I'm doing some data analysis. I'm just like, what's going to make this better? Bootsy Collins. You know why? It's funky. It's funky as hell.
I'm down for that.
The other one that I absolutely love the ever-living shit out of, and this is partially because I'm an Indiana boy and I know a couple of these dudes, but the Straight No Chaser holiday albums they're wonderful. And they're
absolutely.
delightful.
I'm down for a cappella at this time of year.
Totally. It's one of the few times that I'm really excited about that kind of thing. And, this is it. You were discussing the radio stations earlier. So I have Sirius or XM. I don't know the difference anymore.
I think they're the same thing. I think they combined.
Every time I go to find the channel lineup, though, it asks me if I have Sirius or XM. And I'm like, I don't know how to answer this question because my button on my car says XM, but it's Sirius College Radio on one of the presets. So I don't know. You've made me very confused here, guys.
Yeah.
But there's one called Holly and there's one called Holiday Traditions, and they're both in my presets this time of year. Holly is giving you the Wham, the Paul McCartney, Wonderful Christmas, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Which, like, I'll jump in and see if I can catch something interesting. And then the traditional is Bing, Frank, Dean, and, that kind of style of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was more than delighted tonight as I picked my kid up from daycare and Straight No Chaser's 12 Days of Christmas came on. And we were absolutely, like, blasting that on the way home. And we're like, I was singing along, we're dancing, like he was dancing in the back. He has no idea what's going on. No fucking idea. But he's dancing and getting into the whole thing. And then, like, we get home, turn off the car and get out, and he goes, "Dada?" And I'm like, "Yeah, buddy. What was that?" I was like, well, okay, that's kind of fair.
What
and I started to launch in the story, and then I was just like, well, like I went to IU, and Mama went to IU, and like that was Straight No Chaser, and some of those guys went to IU, and Dada knew some of it, and I was like, it was a Christmas song, buddy. It was a Christmas song.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Dada.
He doesn't need the whole story.
Well, I started to give him all of the information. He was like, you don't really need that. And so instead I just finished with, it was a Christmas song, buddy. It was a Christmas song. And he goes, "Dada, can we listen to other Christmas songs? I was like, oh, God damn it.
And the bug has hit him too.
At 2 years old, he's already like, Dad, your music is stupid and old, and can we get out of here?
Yeah. Very nice.
So what I want to hear from you guys, tell me what your comfort food around the holiday season is. Hit us up in the comments. Hit it up on Twitter at PopNerdery. Tell us what we left out of our lists, although if it's not Die Hard or Batman Returns, I think we can all disagree that you've missed the boat.
You're just wrong. You're doing
pretty much. But tell us what you love around the holiday season. Tell us if there's New Year media. I don't even know if that's a thing, but if there's a New Year's movie that you love, holler at us, and we'll be right back.
All right, welcome back to Pop Nerdery. In our C segment, we are going to give you guys a couple of recommendations of things that either we are just getting up on or stuff that we're revisiting and we think is worth your time. So, Topher, what do you have for us this week? So,
first and foremost, doubling back to the B segment, if you haven't seen Scrooged, see Scrooged. It's totally worth your time. You're going to love it. In things that I'm going back on, I'm on a bit of a streak of going back and reading some kind of tentpole books in terms of comics. And right now I'm on a JLA kick, the Justice League of America. For those of you who may not be into this, I'm definitely not a JLA expert. I haven't read as many of kind of the seminal runs as some other folks on this podcast, Dave. So I had read, my first recommendation is Tower of Babel. It's a Wade Porter book. It's kind of got one of the most novel story arcs in terms of Bats comes up with a way to shut down the Justice League. In case any member were to go rogue, Bats comes up with a plan to stop them, which is a very fun kind of turn to, how do you stop the superhero as opposed to the supervillain, right? Like every week we're stopping supervillains, but let's turn our eyes to our heroes. Like what happens if they were to go bad? Right.
And honestly, you called me out a little bit, but I've read probably even less JLA than you.
Oh, really?
This is my entry into that, and honestly, this JLA run is not necessarily for me, but I love this story. I love the premise of it. I don't necessarily love the execution of Tower of Babel, but I love the premise of the story that Batman, as the guy who always needs to have a plan for everything, would logically also need to have a plan for his friends. Right. And that is to me, that gets to the heart of the character, of his paranoia, of his need for control, because he lost all control. That was the inciting incident of his life. I think it really gets to the heart of who Batman is.
Yeah, and going right off of that is my second recommendation, which is the JLA Justice for All, which is Morrison Wade Porter. And it plays in fact, in the middle of this compendium. Batman and Superman and the Martian Manhunter have a clandestine alter ego meeting in a restaurant where they're actually discussing the fact that Superman is basically the chairman of a corporation that is the JLA, and Batman is a sometimes committed, sometimes not member. And there's a very wonderful play upon that, like where Superman's like, yes, but you're not invested, and Batman's like, exactly. I want to be very clear about this.
I need to read that. That's not a story that I've read in the past. That needs to be one that I get up on.
It's kind of the same thing where instead of Batman planning for the demise of all of this, it's kind of I'm not going to give too much of this arc away, but there is some super soldiers that are created specifically to take down the JLA. And then all of a sudden we get some androids and some ancient evil kind of stuff. And all these things happen in quick succession to try to take down the JLA. And there's obviously something behind it. And so again, it's the kind of like each one of the things happen to a specific member, and it targets their specific skill.
Very nice.
So it's a very fun example of just not like, oh, there's a villain, so like who fits best to fight him? Instead, every single member is targeted, and those are the JLA stories that really pique my interest, where as opposed to let's just rotate through this chamber of superheroes and shoot the right bullet, it's everyone is fair game.
Yeah. And there's a great story in the first volume of Legends of the Dark Knight in the New 52, and I can't remember who wrote it exactly, but there's a great story where Batman is in the Watchtower, and it's his job to do watch duty, and there is a guy that comes in and has each of the different Justice Leaguers' powers. And Batman, it just shows Batman how he deals with that guy, that he has thought about this in the past. And it's a quick, 10-page story, maybe 18-page story. And it's a really fun read. So volume 1 of Legends of the Dark Knight, I can kind of tag up on that.
Yeah, and in Justice for All, we get a lot of some of the Silver Age characters. Some of the original Flashes come back in this, which is kind of a fun thing to see.
Buckethead
Atom
Jig.
Man, Atom Man comes back for a brief reprise. It's a great nod to an expanding JLA, to the fact that there are characters in this that I didn't actually know who they were.
Yeah. I get that way with the JLA a lot too. Who
are you? So they clearly kind of internalized that and went, okay, yeah, got it. You don't know who some of these folks are. So here's some nod back to some of the things you may have picked up on, which I thought was very cool. So highly recommend Tower of Babel and Justice for All. They're both pretty short collections. And like I said, I don't have a ton of this backstory, and I happily jumped into the middle of these and enjoyed the hell out of these stories.
The one thing I will say about Tower of Babel is it's very difficult to find on its own, in its own trade paperback. I don't know if you have yours inside of a collection of a lot of other stories.
No, I bought mine used off of Amazon.
So did I, and it cost me more money than I would have liked to pay for it.
I don't want to talk about that right now, especially when my wife might find out how much money I spent on this one specific trade.
Yeah, well, mine is real janky. I don't know if you can tell by we do this over Google Hangouts to pull you guys behind the curtain, but mine's real janky. It looks pretty rough.
Yeah, mine not straight.
That's a pretty big problem that I have with DC in general, is that they don't re-release stuff in trade in as high of quality as Marvel does. And probably one of the reasons why I read a lot more back stuff in the Marvel canon.
They don't make it easy for us, which is very strange in the world of print on demand, why you can't just have runs available.
Well, they make it really easy for Batman, that's where I collect majority of is I read Batman stuff. But this old JLA stuff, even the stories that are very, critically acclaimed, like Tower of Babel, they don't do it as well as they should. This one is on old pulpy paper, whereas every Batman trade I ever get is on beautiful, glossy, fantastic paper. Anyway, so I got a couple of recommendations today. With Star Wars coming out this week, we'll probably get this.
Whoa! What?
I know.
Oof.
There's a little film, Toph. It's called Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Episode 7 of the continuing quad septilogy, nineology.
Septilogies?
Well, there's going to be 9 for sure. We know that.
Hallelujah.
It's a mortal lock.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
There will be 9.
Oh.
So, Star Wars Episode 7 comes out this week, and as such, I've been doing the thing that I should be doing, which is going back and rewatching the original trilogy first, which I was able to luckily come across some original theatrical cuts of the original trilogy.
Hallelujah!
Fantastic! There's way too many dewbacks in the special edition nonsense.
God Almighty!
Too many dewbacks. But I was able to get those, and after I finished Return of the Jedi last week, I really was dreading going back and watching the prequels. And I didn't have to, but I was going to, right? I was going to go back and rewatch them. But that led me to the search for a edit, a fan edit that is of high quality, that takes out a lot of the stuff that I have problems with in the original trilogy. And a lot of the stuff that everybody has problems with in the original trilogy.
I was going to say, it's not just you. We all feel this way.
I'm not being picky. So
no.
The edit that I came across, after doing some reading on the internet and figuring out which one I was going to spend my time watching, was it's called The Phantom Edit by a guy named Andrew Kwan, and it's posted on YouTube. The full thing, 2 hours and 5 minutes, is on YouTube, and it is in my opinion the best fan edit that I've seen.
What does it mean, Dave? For those who are unaware of a lot of this stuff.
So what a fan edit is it is essentially a fan took those 3 movies, and in this particular instance, he took the 3 prequel movies for Star Wars, which is about 7 hours of footage, and edited it down to 2 hours and 5 minutes.
So he chopped the 3 whole movies into one cohesive segment.
Exactly. And he did Beautiful. It focusing on the relationships that Anakin has with 3 people, with Padme first and foremost, then with Obi-Wan, and then with Palpatine. And if it were me, I would have switched the order of importance, and I would have focused a little bit more on his relationship with Obi-Wan. Mm-hmm. But honestly, I'm not sure there's enough raw footage for him to go off of.
Or footage that doesn't make you cringe when they're talking.
Yeah, honestly, I think that Lucas missed that mark, so you can't really blame it on
that mark.
Yeah, yes, that one. So what
this George, I said it. Fucking tweet me.
What this fan edit does is it takes 7 hours of footage and edits it down to 2. But not only does it do that, he takes some stuff and changes the order in which it was presented to you because it makes for better story structure and flow. It makes it more impactful. For example, when you figure out, when there are reveals about Palpatine, if you change the order in which stuff is revealed, it makes it a little bit more impactful. There are a couple of things that he left out that I would have liked to maybe see. The transition from episode 2 to episode 3. He took out almost all of the Dooku stuff, which I don't like him as a character, but there's some solid Anakin stuff in there that I would like to keep. He loses his hand at the end of 2.
Sure.
And at the beginning of 3, episode 3, there's that whole scene where he is debating over whether or not to kill Dooku, and Palpatine influences him.
That's actually not awful exposition. In the Lucas world, that actually stands up for good dialogue.
Yeah, and you kind of hit the nail on the head that there's some stuff that he can't fix, right? As an editor, you can't fix the source material that you have to work with.
You're still bound by the source material.
Right. And honestly, at the plotting stage, there was a lot of good there in those prequels. But it really was the casting and the filming that that sunk those 3 movies. So you have Hayden Christensen, who is not particularly good in that role. I don't have any ill will toward the man.
No.
But he comes off a lot more whiny than he should. In this edit, they try to get rid of a lot of that, a lot of the whininess, a lot of the stuff that makes him a very hateable character from the beginning. But there's also the very video game look of the CGI and the blue screen for almost every setting in that film, which is still very tough to get over. That's not stuff that you can overlook, depending on the edit. But I will say it was a far more enjoyable way to watch the prequels than watching the prequels. It really did focus in on Anakin's rise and fall. It didn't make Anakin any more likable. You weren't necessarily rooting for him to not fall.
Right.
Honestly, even watching it in 2 hours and 5 minutes, you're like, can he just be Vader already?
Can we just get to Vader?
Yeah.
I'm ready to go. I'm ready for a new hero to come out. I want you to be our antagonist, but I want a new hero now.
Yeah. And I mean, the saving grace of the prequels and also the saving grace of this edit is Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan. He's fantastic.
He's really good.
And this edit in particular does a really great job of ending the prequel movies and in a way that sets up Vader as a terrifying figure. And I'll just leave it at that. So enjoy the last 5 minutes of this edit. The one you want to look for is called the Phantom Edit 1080p. So it's in full HD. Nice. It's a very good quality. There's the cold open is the lightsaber duel with Darth Maul, which is a great way to get people to like Phantom Menace. You just take out all but the last 5 minutes.
And I can't imagine that you're coming to Star Wars if you're listening to this podcast, but on the off chance that you just really loved Batman, but Star Wars wasn't in your wheelhouse, let me introduce you to the Machete Order.
Oh, big fan of this.
Which tells you to go A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, skip 1 entirely because honestly you're not missing anything. Do the second prequel and the third prequel, and then watch Jedi in order to get ready for Force Awakens.
Yeah, and I would actually argue watch A New Hope, watch Episode 4, then watch Episode 5, then watch this Phantom edit, and then watch Return of the Jedi.
If you're hurt for time, I think that the Phantom edit is a great way to jump through it. Yeah. 2 and 3 have enough, like they're still bad movies. They're bad Star Wars movies. But there's enough redeeming in 2 and 3 that I can at least say if you are a completist, if you collect the whole run, even if you've stopped liking the run, you need to go see all of 2 and 3 because there's enough in there to make you happy. In the same way that we are, reading these new Dark Knight series, even though we know they might not be awesome.
But even if you're a completist, just don't watch Phantom Menace, please.
No, we all agree.
Don't do that.
That's just punishment. Like that should count as community service.
If you're gonna do it, turn on the last 15 minutes, watch that lightsaber fight, get that John Williams in your life.
Just go to YouTube. You can go to YouTube right now and just watch that.
There you go. Duel of the Fates.
Like, if you're caught, with a bag of weed, you should have to watch The Phantom Menace as community service. Like, that should count as hours.
The last thing we'll say about Star Wars on this podcast is that you and I have both avoided spoilers like the plague.
Yep.
We've been very good at it. And one way that we've done it is cut ourselves off from the world in ways that are almost unacceptable.
Correct.
I won't go on Twitter from now until Thursday, and I won't.
Wow.
I probably won't. I have one list that's almost exclusively sports Twitter, so I think I'm kind of safe there.
I was saying my Twitter is actually mostly sports Twitter with some nerd mixed in, so I think I'm actually probably okay to randomly check Twitter.
But the one thing I will say. And there's no spoilers here, no plot, no nothing. But I did look at some of the tweets from people that I follow on Twitter that I knew were at the premiere, like Pat Oswalt being one, and a couple of other guys. And they were pretty overwhelmingly positive. And that's the only thing I want to know going in is that, people I respect who love this stuff just as much, if not more than I do.
Uh-huh.
Did they think it was a debacle? Yes or no?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to have. I'm seeing it one way or the other, right? Like I paid for Phantom Menace, so I'm sure as fuck gonna go see this one. But I wanted to know if people were saying, "Boy, this didn't hit the mark," or "I was disappointed." I don't want specific spoilers. I'm with you. I don't want plot points, but I wanted to know what the mood of the folks coming out of the screening was.
And I mean, my wife dared to ask the question last week: "What if it sucks?" And I didn't even want to think about it because that I would fall into a depression.
I'm not ready to address that possibility.
Yeah. So let's move on away from Star Wars. We talked about it a little bit here. The last thing I want to recommend is something that makes me very, very, very happy. Being a Chicago guy, I have been in the loop on this one for a little while now. But Chance the Rapper, we don't talk about music here as often as we did, previous incarnations of our,
quite frankly.
Yes. But Chance the Rapper was on SNL this week, so it gives me a little bit of crossover cover to talk about him. Lots and lots of people know about Chance the Rapper, but outside of Chicago, I'm not sure, enough people do. So Chance the Rapper is an independent artist who is not signed to any label. He gives away almost all, if not all, of his music for free. And his business model is let's make money on shows and T-shirts and concerts and appearances and things like that. But let's get popular by giving away all of our music for free, which in this era of, artists don't get paid for their music anyhow, it's pretty smart just to embrace that full stop and make great music. And he just seems like he has a lot of fun, and he's a very good influence on our very violent city. He does a lot of work within the city to keep kids off the streets and to bring light to what's going on in his neighborhood and in the neighborhoods around there. But still somehow is able to stay super upbeat and thankful and happy for, this budding, wonderful career that he has.
Yeah. And not just Chance the Rapper, but the whole Save Money crew. Chance the Rapper, Vic Mensa, Thelonious Martin, Joey Perp, Tokyo Sean, Three Beats, K-Rock, like the whole Save Money crew.
And the Social Experiment crew that he runs with too, with Donnie Trumpet and
Get Save Money in your life. You
Yes.
want it, you need it, you won't be disappointed.
Absolutely. Do you have a favorite Chance the Rapper song?
Oh, it's kind of like asking me to pick children because I truly like. Well, even like, and I this is going to be a little blasphemous because Chance the Rapper is the most popular of the Save Money crew.
Yeah.
But I'm actually more into Vic Mensa and Joey Parp in Tokyo Sean. Not that I don't like Chance the Rapper. He's like, in terms of Chance the Rapper is better than your favorite rappers, and I'm your favorite rapper's favorite blogger. So you know, respect that.
Yeah, but I love his first mixtape was called 10 Day because he was on a 10-day suspension from school and recorded this mixtape, which is so an awesome legend. He has a song called Prom Night on 10 Day. That's probably my favorite song. But on the most recent Donnie Trumpet Social Experiment, the one that they gave away on iTunes for free, which is the first time iTunes ever gave away anything for free.
Right.
They have a song called...
That alone should be applauded as like an actual piece of history.
Absolutely. They have a song called Wanna Be Cool. And I love that song. It should be every nerd's anthem. Or at least when we were growing up. Every
No
nerd's
Better
anthem.
Blues is pretty much the same. Honestly, like there's a ton of stuff on Surf. I'm blanking on it. Sunday Candy.
Yeah, Sunday Candy. He did that one. He did a much slower, like soulful version of Sunday Candy on SNL.
Yeah, it actually took me a minute to recognize what song he was doing.
Me too.
Me too. It.
And it was great because he like looked directly in the camera because that's a song that, if you don't know, Sunday Candy is a song that he sings about and for his grandmother. And he looked like directly into the camera and you could tell he was just there. Like he was singing to his grandma.
Basically broke all of the rules of SNL in terms of like you're not allowed to look directly in the camera or like pretend that this is even a live audience interaction thing. And he was just like, nope, I'm doing it straight to the one shot.
Exactly. Well, Pop Nerds.
Save money, y'all. Save money.
Pop Nerds. Speaking of save money, I just gave you 2 recommendations that are free.
Free 99.
Absolutely free.
Hey, Dave, you know what else is free?
This podcast.
Get it in your ear holes.
So this brings us to the end of the show. Thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate your time. Time is important, so we appreciate you giving a little bit of it to us today. So as a reminder, give us a little bit of more of your time. Join the conversation. Go to either the comment section on this podcast or go to popnerdery.com/talkback. And that's where we're going to continue. I have a post up there right now about this Phantom edit, so watch it. Come back, talk to me about it. Topher and I will be chatting, and he'll probably be slinging some insults my way. That's
Likely.
what we do.
Likely. Shout out to our missing host, Brent.
Oh, we miss you, buddy. We miss you.
Dramatically. Shout out to Carl the Destroyer. I can't wait to see what he sends me for Christmas. Big shout out.
He gives great gifts.
Hallelujah.
So go talk to us on the Talkback section. Rate and review us on iTunes. It helps out the show. More people will listen. That is a good thing.
Hit up the Twitter at PopNerdery. Flaming hot takes and inappropriate subtweets.
That's where I tweet as the show. If you want to listen to me yell about politics or yell at people who spoil Star Wars for me if I'm on there in the next couple of days, or yell about my beloved Chicago Cubs, I'm at Dave Fultz. Topher, where can we find you?
If you'd like to hear me yelling about all sports in perpetuity forever in either direction, forward or backwards, time is a flat circle, at the hospital ball, in your face.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of episode 7. We will hope to see you in episode 8. Finger guns.
Finger guns.
I love you, buddy.